Welcome back to It's All Her, the podcast. I'm your host, Jordy Lucas. I'm the founder and editor of It's All Her. I was an actress in a previous life and I'm a mum to a toddler. I've got a lot going on and I have a passion for helping women live simpler, better lives. For the latest in lifestyle and entertainment news, head to itsallher.com. Welcome to this very special Mother's Day edition of It's All Her. We're coming to you from Boda HQ in Richmond and we're joined by Boda founder Martha Kourt and two Boda babes who you may know, Bec Douros, who you will recognise from the block, and Zoe George, who competed on Big Brother in 2020. Thank you for joining us, ladies.
Thanks.
So we're here obviously for Mother's Day to talk all things motherhood. We've been chatting about how everyone transitions in their journey, our bodies, all the changes that we go through. I thought we could start off by just talking a little bit about each of our journeys to motherhood. So Martha, let's start with you. You've got little Pia, who's 3, and you're 4 weeks away from having your second little girl.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about your first pregnancy with Pia and what made you think that you were ready to take that leap into motherhood?
How did I know to take the leap into motherhood?
Yeah, how did you know you were ready?
I just I love people, I love relationships. So for me, it just felt really natural. And obviously had the conversation with my husband, and we had spoken about it for a few months, and we had a big Europe trip planned. So we thought, let's go have one wild last hurrah in Europe, and then start trying when we get back. And I thought it might have been a bit of a process because I've got endo and PCOS, so I just I didn't want to put pressure on myself. I thought I'll just wait till we get back from Europe and just have a fun time. Mm-hmm. But we got to Europe and 3 days into our trip, I felt really sick.
Oh
my God. I found out I was pregnant. So Mykonos wasn't really what it turned out to be.
And what about you, Bec?
My journey into motherhood was a little bit different, I think. I always knew I wanted to be a mum, but my husband and I have been together since I was 17. So going on 20 years nearly. So we got married young. I was engaged at 21 and then by 23 married, and I was a little bit like Martha. I'm like, let's travel, let's do this, let's do that. And that was all well and good. We did that. And then we were like, okay, let's start trying. So my mum got diagnosed with breast cancer and I was like, maybe it's the time to start trying and whatever. And it was after we'd finished the block, and we tried before the block and it wasn't happening. And then I went to the doctor and they're like, there's a few things that we probably just need to work on and whatever. And I had a few operations, clean out, whatever. And then they were pregnant, had a miscarriage. Then had another miscarriage a little while after that, and then got on the block. And then we were like, okay, let's focus on this, sort of stop trying. And then it was after the block, we tried again, and it just wasn't happening. So, it just, I don't know, I just couldn't fall pregnant. And we were doing all these tests, and something I've been really private about in the past, but I've told Martha knows, I went through IVF. So I had lots of trouble. After having a few miscarriages, then I had lots of trouble falling pregnant. And then, it was just the most stressful situation. And I was putting a lot of pressure on myself because I knew my mum, was really sick in those previous years. And then obviously she passed away. And I think stress plays a huge part in it. But my IVF journey wasn't really hard, luckily. I've got friends going through it now and they're really struggling. I was lucky enough to get a good batch of eggs, and then Archie was one of those. And then I froze the rest, and then after I had Archie, decided to start trying again, and we're really trying again naturally, and it just wasn't happening. So I went back to my doctor and he said, look, you've got the eggs, so let's just go through that process again, so you're not putting that stress on yourself. And then I had Lenny, and then I was thinking I was done with 2, but I still had a couple of eggs frozen. And then George and I toyed around with the idea of a 3rd, and then I just decided not yet. We were building a house and whatever. And then I went on a night out with the girls, and lo and behold, Rosie happened naturally. It was like when you're not thinking about it. Like, my girlfriend was down from the UK, and we had like a big weekend of like drinking and going out and partying, and I just didn't think that it was going to happen naturally after so many years of it being, so hard. And then and then it was like crazy. But then COVID hit, which we were talking about before. Like, and then Rosie's a COVID baby, so I was pregnant through COVID, and then I had her through COVID, and it was a really different experience. But it was only like a few weeks ago that I kind of had to make the choice with my other eggs, because I was like, I'm like, no more kids. I don't want any more kids. And they keep sending me letters, and I keep paying for these eggs to stay in.
Such a strange concept, isn't it? That you've got these eggs sitting there.
Yeah, but I have to make a decision about what I'm going to do there, because I'm definitely done with 3. But so I had 2 IVF and 1 natural. So now back on the pill.
And Zoe, what about you?
Oh gosh, see, I really struggle. I find it really hard to. You hear so many stories like that, like Bec's, and it's almost like I feel guilty that I had it easy, or that like I didn't think I was going to have it easy. Like growing up, so many of my friends, were having accidents or things like that, and I never did. So I was like, I'm going to have fertility issues. I'm going to have issues, and that was something that I was always worried about. But when we got married, I was a lot older as well. Like I met Rob when I was 29, so we got married within a year. Everything moved really fast, and he wanted to have children quickly. But mine was really strategic, actually. Like I had just started working as a teacher, and I didn't have an ongoing position yet. So when you've got an ongoing position, they keep your job for 10 years. You can go away, have kids, have multiple kids, and they keep your job for you, and you can come back. So I was like, I've got to get through 3 contracts before I can get pregnant, so that I can. And then I was talking to a colleague, and she said to me, you got to get pregnant in June. And she's like, around mid-June, that'll put you perfectly, like you're going to have school holidays, you'll get paid for the school holidays, then you'll get maternity leave, and then you'll get money from the government. So it's like really, and I was like, who gets pregnant the first month that they try? Like, how is that even possible? Do you want to give me a date? And we gave it a go. And the first month, I remember, I was nervous. I went to the doctor, and I said to him, can you check my husband's sperm count? And can you check that I'm like, I was just really nervous that it wasn't going to happen. But it happened the first time. And then with Ambrosia, I was really, again, like I saw my brother had been struggling for a few years, and I was like, oh my God. And the first one was very easy. So I was like, oh, maybe I'm going to be one of those cases. Maybe I need to start a little bit earlier this time. And with Ambrosia, I didn't get pregnant the first month, and I went to the doctor, and I was like, check me, something's wrong with me. What can you check? Can you check me? And we did all these tests, and by the time the test results came, I was pregnant with her. So the second month it came. So I was like, it's hard. You don't want to talk about these happy stories, because there are so many people that are struggling or did have a difficult time, and I feel, I've learnt the hard way with some cases. Like one time I did a post on Facebook on my private page, and it was like an ultrasound picture of twins, and it says, da-da-da-da, surprise has come along. This isn't my status, I stole it from someone. Like it was a joke. Yeah. And I had 2 people that were obviously at the time struggling with fertility unfriend me, message me. That was really helpful of you to do. And so, I've learnt to just, that it is a very sensitive topic, and
it gets. I didn't tell anyone about IVF because, and obviously I've got a public profile, and I just chose to keep that private. Now I talk about it because I've got friends going through it. I've got a girlfriend that won't come to anything if we bring the kids. She's been trying to have a baby for, it's been 7 years now. She's had multiple IVF failures. My cousin, the same thing, and they can't be around Rosie. So she said, she was very honest, and she said, I just can't be around.
How does that make you feel?
Oh, sad sometimes. I've got Rosie's christening in a couple of weeks, and she's not coming. But I have to remind myself that when I was going through IVF, and all of my friends were, I had a girlfriend that fell pregnant. We had Archie, and she had her son 10 days within each other, 10 days apart, and I was pregnant and she told me that she'd fallen pregnant by accident. And my natural reaction, I felt so guilty about it, was I was upset that it was so easy for her, and she felt bad telling me. But I was already pregnant, so it took me a long time to even be able to talk about it. And that's okay. You don't have to share everything. Like I don't share everything now. It's like what you were saying. What we were talking before. You're like, oh, that didn't look like that.
Come across.
I'm actually quite private.
Yeah.
For someone that has a public profile, I'm very private about a lot of stuff. You know.
Yeah,
but
similar situation. One of my best friends, she was trying for years before me to get pregnant, and I had gotten pregnant so quickly. I took her to dinner to sit her down to tell her about it, and she cried and I cried, and
I think that you can't understand until you've been through something like that. Like I sympathise with my friends now, but it just changes you. My sister, we're literally blood, and she got off the pill and the next month fell pregnant.
You can't walk in someone's shoes unless you can't.
You know, like, and for me, it's like years of like trying, and then miscarriages and whatever. And you know, like, and then even when my sister had my nephew, I was in the labour room and she was just like popped him out, like it was. And then when I had Archie, I was in 18 hours labouring through my back, blood everywhere, rushed to surgery. Then I felt like I'd been hit by a bus, emergency cesarean. And my sister like literally gave birth and was walking around with a can of Coke 2 minutes later. And I was just like, you've had this whole process so easy. Like, what did I do to have it hard from start to finish? You know?
My sister-in-law was back in a size 6 dress at my wedding a month after having her baby. I was like,
some people.
Everyone's so different.
You know, it's like me, like we were talking before, like every pregnancy, like with Archie, I didn't really put on any weight because I was really sick through my pregnancy. I had really bad morning sickness, hardly ate. With Lenny, I stacked on like 9 kilos. And then with Rosie, I lost weight, and it was just the stress of the pandemic. Like even this, each pregnancy was different for me.
I think that's what this really shows. Like every woman's experience is going to be so different. How you get pregnant to how you give birth to everything. Like, but and it's good to hear all these stories.
The moral of the story with motherhood is no one knows what they're doing and no one knows what to expect. No one. You just roll with the punches and just hope. Like when I have a shit day, I'm like, tomorrow's a new day. Pour myself a glass of wine. And I'm just like, you know what?
I heard a quote the other day. It's like, good enough parenting is great. You know, it's sometimes you just stop putting all this pressure on yourself. It's like good enough parenting.
I've never felt more like I am just skimming through life than the last
3 kids, businesses,
As long as they're alive every day. We made it.
It's like saying, like, you know, every kid you let go a little bit more. Like Archie, I was like, every meal's home cooked.
Right. Do
the carrots like this. He likes it like this. Separating all the food. Oh, you know, only these nappies, these wipes. Now with Rosie, I'm just like, you don't want to eat? Fine. That's fine by me. Like, just get nappies, whatever wipes, I don't care. Like,
and Rosie wet herself when we were on holidays, and I put a pad on her because I had no nappies with me. Like in a restaurant in Greece, I put a pad in her.
Oh my God.
Like, you just do what you need to do.
That's actually quite innovative.
Let's talk about being working mums now. Martha, something that I find so inspiring, you know, knowing you and following you is the amount of... Are you right?
I was just getting hot. I'm pregnant. It's all good. I'm fine.
The big question is, how do you do it? You've got how many salons? I think I saw yesterday that you were looking at another...
we're about to sign up on our 6th
oh my God.
salon. Bec, get ready. She's my interior designer.
Hopefully close to me this time.
Yeah, actually.
Can we get a little scoop of where it might be? Or
well, it's not too far from Zoe.
That's close to me.
Bless you.
Yeah, which is close. So we're signing up our 6th salon, and we've obviously got head office as well. So that's a separate business in itself. So 7.
And so you've got these 7 sites. You've got a 3-year-old. You're about to have another little baby girl.
36 weeks pregnant.
I feel like asking how do you do it is a silly question, but maybe give us some practical advice of how you've managed to build businesses whilst raising your
Yeah.
little girl?
Well, I think it doesn't just like all fall into place. Like, I think people see on Instagram are like, oh, you know, I get messages. I got a message, like 20 messages yesterday from my post being like, oh my God, how do you do it? You look so energized. I'm like, I don't think it just like, you don't wake up like energized and, you know, it doesn't just happen like that. Like, this is years of preparation, planning. You know, I actually, like, I'm really chilled. Like you see, I'm like so chilled. Like, I don't give a, you know, I'm not too fussy about stuff, but I think in the background, I'm like super organized.
Yeah.
And I have to be. And I think once I got to a point where I made an income for myself, I like the best piece of advice I could give women in business, and I said this to Bec as well, is outsource. Like, you have to outsource, get a PA when you get to that point where you can, because then it frees up a lot of your time to be able to do more of the creative thinking stuff, which is like, you know, planning and strategic expansion and all that. So that takes time. Like, it doesn't just happen in the first couple of years.
Yeah.
The first, I think, 3-4 years was like hard work, then building the team, getting my support system right, and then being able to like delegate as much as I can out.
Yeah.
And yeah, do all the creative thinking stuff. It's funny because I think sometimes when you think of something and you think about it too long, you can get in your head a little bit and you get quite scared. Whereas I'm kind of like, I don't get scared about things. Like, I really don't. Like, I'm not really fearful about, let's go sign up a new lease. Like, let's go do this. Like, let's go to Europe with an 8-week-old. Like, Pia was 8 weeks old. Like, and I was like, let's go to Europe for 4 months and like, let's just do it. And like, I think I am. I don't know. Like, I don't want to. I think
I'm good at delegating.
I'm good at delegating, but I'm kind of just like, I love to live. Like, I hate wasting time. Like, for me, COVID killed me. Like, I was like, I know it killed everybody, but I was like, this is not like, I can't live. Like, I'm like my philosophy in life is like, just don't waste time, just live. Like, you don't realize it's actually all we've got. Like, we don't have more time. Like, we've only got right now. So like, what are we doing? Like, why are we scared? Like, why are we not living? And if something does happen, unless it's going to kill you, don't worry about it, because you just figure it out. Like, sometimes I just throw things up in the air and I get overwhelmed because I'm like, wow, I've got 7 businesses and a toddler and I'm pregnant. And I just go, you know what, I'm going to turn off my phone for 2 days and I'm just going to not give a crap about what's going on around me, because this is overwhelming and I get it. But like, no one's going to die. And like, just think about it like logically, like, no one's going to die. Like, a deadline doesn't happen.
I think you balance it well.
Yeah.
You balance the work life and motherhood. But we're very similar in the sense we've always worked through our pregnancies, through our, you know, having the children, like, always worked. Yeah. And I haven't had a choice. Like, it's sort of like, once you own a business, that
you don't get the chance.
No.
I was literally in hospital, had cesarean with my laptop. Like, you know, invoicing, doing this, and it's like Martha said, you do have to outsource something. And I learned that from you. Like,
I'm always like, Bec, outsource.
But you balance really well. You balance the time with Pia, time with Antonis, time with your family, like, in general, extended family, like. Because
I think also, like, growing, before I had Pia, Antonis and I have done a lot of like self-development stuff. Like, we've both either seen a therapist or we've done like seminars, whether it's business, life, whatever. And every takeaway from those things has been, make sure your sphere of life has your attention. So whether it's your friends, whether it's your relationship, whether it's your family and your work, like, don't make one section be your whole life, because then that throws your whole soul out of whack. So I really try to make a conscious effort that everything is sort of getting a little bit of attention. And if there's times where I'm like, you know what, my relationship really needs some focus. At the moment it does. But I'm like 36 weeks pregnant. I've got too much going on. But, you know, I'm like, I know that does. So like, I try to be really mindful that, you know, like, I feel like even my spirituality, like, I haven't meditated for a long time. You know, haven't been to Bali. That's like that's my soul place. I love it. So I think what Bec's saying is, like, I've learned this stuff though. I don't think I've naturally just, you know, become a really well-balanced person. Like, you know, I try to like read the right things, listen to the right podcasts, and
I think it's also like just life experience.
And life experience,
like,
for sure.
I feel like I haven't done the whole podcast and reading book thing.
Yeah.
Like, you talk about it all the time, and I was like, I really should do that, like, more. But I feel like I've learned from my mistakes in the past, especially with business.
Well, that's how these people come about these seminars. They learn, they come and present on stage because they've learned from their mistakes. Yeah, exactly.
Zoe, you competed on Big Brother in 2020. Something that I immediately thought of was, how did you find that time being away from your kids?
Okay, so 2 things. I didn't want to be the mum that cries over her kids on TV. Like, so if I ever did get emotional, like I took one of my son's t-shirts that smelled like him and one of my daughter's little snuggly toys, and I'd put my head under the blanket at night and they would think I was sleeping, and I would have a little sook under the blanket.
That makes me want to cry.
So sweet.
But yeah, anyway, but I wanted to do it for the mums. I actually wanted to be that mum that was like, yeah, you know what, this is something I want to do. Why does no one question Dad when he goes on a golf trip for a week or a footy trip? Or, you know, why does no one question you and say, oh, the kid's going to be okay when the husband leaves? I've got a really capable husband. He was so capable. I have, you know, my parents very close.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is something I want to do. I want to do it. And I want to show that women can do it and mums can do it. And it shouldn't be such a stigma. And literally, even in the audition process, it was like a full day of auditions, and it was going alphabetically, and I'm a Z, and I was the last one. And there was this guy there, young guy, so a little bit naive, I guess, and it was 6 o'clock or 6:30, and he goes to me, is your husband going to be okay for dinner?
Oh.
And I was like, did you just say that? Like, seriously, my husband's 40-something years old. I'm sure he'll be fine for dinner, you know, like, and it was just that. Like, it even happened in the audition. So, yeah, I wanted to go and do it, and it was hard.
Yeah.
But once I got in there, I just switched into competitive mode. I'm very competitive. So I was like, this is a job now. I was so emotional at the airport and leaving them, and, you know, that night I slept with them both in my arms. But yeah, I was like, the minute I landed in Sydney, I'm like, I'm in work mode now.
Yeah.
And this is a job, and I've got to get through it, and it's 6 weeks, worst case. And I'm just going to do it. And the only time in the whole show that I showed emotion was when we got a letter from home halfway through. So it was 3 weeks, no phone calls, no video calls, nothing. I had only a little photo of my kids on my bedside table. That was it for 3 weeks. And I was like a mess. I was trying to read it, and my son had shaved a Z into the side of his head, and it said it in the letter, and they drew a little picture for me. And yeah, that was the most emotional that I got. But and then when I got home, it was like amazing. It was
And how was the experience for them watching you?
So it's not live. Yeah. So they didn't know what I was doing.
Which is different to other seasons, isn't it?
It was the first time, it was like that. And I had pre-recorded a whole bunch of video messages on WhatsApp so that my husband could show them, and I'd pretend like, I had a really busy day today, look what I'm wearing, because they didn't know what I was doing. They just thought I was working in Sydney. So he got them through with that. But yeah, watching it on TV, they were allowed to watch it. My son was a fanatic. He knew all of their names and everything, you know, like he was obsessed. And my daughter would just like the challenges. She would watch that. So it was nice for them to see their mum be a bit of a challenge beast, you know. That was another thing I was really impressed that I was at my peak fitness when I went on there, and winning I could have won the 3rd challenge, but I threw it, and that's what got me evicted. But just being physically strong and showing, you know what, like people were shocked. There was ex-footy players in there and Olympic athletes, and I'm winning challenges, you know, like, because they weren't just about strength, they were finesse, or they were, you know, mind games. So I was proud of myself. Yeah. So that's it. I was like, I don't want to go home till I've won a challenge. Then you can send me home. So yeah.
Something that I love following you for is you post the funniest content and pranks on your husband, which, I mean, the Karens of the world, sometimes you get a bit of trolling for.
Yeah.
Do you ever worry about your kids having a profile on social media and perhaps copying, you know, trolling and abuse and things like that? Because I worry about that with my little girl having social media eventually.
Yeah, I plan to protect them as long as I can from, like, they don't even have games that have a chat room. Like, I don't, and they're still very young. Like, my son's 8.
Yeah.
But you also have to teach them to be resilient, and it doesn't matter what you post. You could post the most average thing, the most safe thing, and if someone wants to troll you about it, they will.
Yeah.
Like, they'll come at you for anything. It can be the colour of your shoes. It can be the smallest thing. My mum, actually, I've never had hate in real life, but my mum did the other day at the gym. Like, someone went up to her and they're like, I see you on Facebook. I see you swear a lot, because I don't know if you saw the prank where I put water in between, I pulled her legs and it wet her bum. And she was like, oh, shit. And the lady was like, you say shit a lot. And she was attacking my mum. My mum was like, you follow my daughter? And she's like, no, I just see it, you know? And I'm like, there's crazy people in the world.
Yeah.
There really are. And if you're going to come at a 60-something-year-old woman over her language, like, there's something not right with that person, you know? So I'm pretty lucky that I haven't had much hate, but I had a few of my prank videos go viral on Facebook, of all places, and you think going viral, amazing, I'm going to get more followers, and you know, that's what everyone wants, to go viral, right? But the minute you go viral, it's immediately like bringing in creeps, it's bringing in trolls, it's bringing in, you know, the Karens, people that want to say, oh, people were saying that that's elderly abuse. Because my mum and I pretended to kick her and then we broke into a dance. And like, she was like, oh, you know, like, so, and they're like, that's elderly abuse, you know? Yeah, I can only laugh at it now because I have built up a thicker skin over time. But there are so many people that are starting out that would be super sensitive about something like that, you know? Catch me on the wrong day, maybe I'm emotional. Something like that can really hurt someone's feelings. But I don't know, I guess at the end of the day, when we put ourselves out there in public, you've got to be ready to take it. I don't know how I'm going to protect my kids, but my son's very sensitive, so yeah, I guess I'll cross that bridge when I come to it.
And what about in terms of, and Bec, you might be able to comment on this as well, protecting your kids in terms of, like, I mean, I don't have as big a following as you, but I never post where I am in real time, especially.
Always.
And I follow some people, and you can see what their house looks like. You would be able to find out where their kids go to school without much effort. Like, how do you put effort into protecting your kids' actual physical safety?
I don't post in real time at all anymore, and I don't share too much of like our house or anything like that. So we had a situation where we bought a property and took a photo in front of the sign. It was sold, blah blah blah, and we had all these people messaging, like, and then commenting about how much we paid for it and all this sort of stuff. And then someone seemed to somehow find out that we weren't where we were living in at the time and posting that, and someone put our address. I had to like delete the post completely. So I've like found, I think pretty much the last maybe 2 years, I share much less. I don't share a lot, and I am quite private. I just don't, and I just I don't put things up straight away. I'll put them up the next day, or if I'm out that morning, I'll put them up that night. And then sometimes I just don't put things up at all. So I just share a lot less.
Yeah, like I just upload later. I never share what school they're at. We're even filming for Big Brother the commercial, like the intro.
Yeah.
I said to them, I'm not putting their school uniforms, and they just had a regular backpack, and we did like a school drop off at a park near my house, so no one could see that it wasn't a school. So I never shared what school I worked at because it was a government school, things like that. It is really important. One time when we first built our house, we had no blinds and no fence yet. And the front room is just the study, but I had my daughter's first birthday and I had this huge number 1 with the lights in it, and I had put it in the front in the study so that my friend can pick it up and take it. And somebody messaged me going, I think I know what house you're at. I've just seen the one in your window. You might want to take that out or something like that. So she was nice. She came from a nice place, but it's that easy. It's that easy, especially when your following is so local. Mine are very local. To see, you know, what butcher I go to or what, you know, they can work out what school I go to if they know what suburb.
Yeah, it's such a small world.
But it is when you think that someone could go up to your child and say, I know your mummy's Martha, and I know, like...
Right.
And
that's
then
scary.
all of a sudden your kid thinks that this person
is safe
and they know you.
I say that to my dad. My dad's a little bit oblivious to it all. So he'll take them to the park, and so many times people have come up and said, hi Ari, hi Bradley, I'll follow your mum, you know. And I say to him, Dad, I don't care if there's a fence. I don't care if other mums are on their phones while their kids play. My kids, someone could come up and say, hey Ari, hey Ambrosia, your mum's over there with Ella. Can you come, because she can't leave the dog there, you know? Like, so easy. They've got all this information, so easy to lure my children away as opposed to other children. So I just say to him, you've got to be watching them all the time. Like,
It's a scary world.
Just Jordy here. Hope you are loving our very special Mother's Day episode in collaboration with Boda Hair Boutique. You can hear more conversations with mums such as Steph Claire Smith, Rachel Finch, Home and Away's Ada Nicodemus, and many more. Simply search It's All Her wherever you listen, and don't forget to hit subscribe. Let's get back to the episode.
So Beck, you posted recently that you hope your kids look back and say that you were a fun mum. What else is important to you that your kids think about you when looking back?
So like when I think about my mum and my childhood, like I remember all the fun things, like you know, she used to dance and she used to put like her rock music on and like clean the house in her underwear. At the time I was like, put some clothes on or whatever. But now I look back and I think she was so funny. Like they're like, you know, dancing to AC/DC or like, you know, singing at the top of her lungs, like, and then, you know, with the tea towel across her thing, cooking, like, you know, she was just fun. And then, you know, we'd be on the couch and she'd be like, oh, let's go to the coffee shop and get a coffee. Let's hang out together. Let's do this. Or do you want to go to the movies today? Like, she was always really like just out and about and including us. And I remember all of that stuff. And I remember all the holidays. And I just think to myself, they're the best memories I have of her. So I just want that for my kids. Like, and I think, you know, I want them to look back and go, oh, Mum took us, not that, you know, holidays make, like, you know, your childhood better. Not everyone's in a position to do that, but I loved that about my childhood. So I make a massive deal about birthdays and special occasions. And, you know, Archie, you know, a few weeks ago went up in a swimming level. So I'm like, sweet, pizza night. What restaurant do you want to go to? You know, you can have some soft drink, you can get your ice cream, whatever. So I just try to make an effort. And sometimes my husband says to me, you know, you've really changed in the last, like, since we had Rosie. Like, he always says to me, I feel like you've really changed. And I think COVID changed me a lot, because I was like that before, but I think I'm more like that. Like, watching them miss out on a lot, I was just like, it killed me. So now our new thing is we take them into the city. We book Crown, we take them into the city, and they have a weekend away, and they get to eat whatever they want, do whatever they want. He goes to the arcade games, we stay up late, we eat ice cream in bed, we, you know, I fill the room with balloons. And I don't know, I just like want them, if I was to die tomorrow, I want them to look back and think, oh, she was a good time. Like, honestly,
She was fun.
She was fun. Like, and I want, another big thing for me is, when I was a teenager, I really felt like my mum was my best friend. I could go to her for anything. See, not everyone's like that. I've got friends like that. And my mum, she's one of 5 kids, but she, Italian background, but my mum was born here, and she had a really disjointed, hard relationship with her parents. You know, alcoholic father, like abusive, like not nice. And so I think she obviously was like, when I have children, I don't want it to be like that for them. So she made a real effort to,
what a woman,
you know, she was amazing.
That's me.
You know,
that's my experience. So my mum was like her mum, very cold. We didn't get many hugs. You know, I always felt like she hated me.
Oh my God.
Have you had that conversation with her?
Yeah, see, that's hard.
It's really hard.
See, I feel like my mum took all of those things that she hated about her childhood and went, nah, I'm not doing that.
Like, I'm just like, I love your attitude about life, because like, you are fun, you know, you are so much fun, and you can see it in your kids. Like, when we, like, you know, they just come over with the kids and we'll be like, let's make pizza. And sometimes I get like comments on Instagram being like, aren't you tired? And I'm like, but what's the alternative to sit on the couch?
You can do anything.
You can do anything.
I've travelled with my kids too. Like,
Yeah.
we've taken them to Europe.
And Charlotte's
Lenny's been
right.
twice. Lenny's been once.
Yeah.
Like we've taken them to Fiji a couple of times. Like you just
gotta roll with it.
temporary.
Yeah.
Like the flight doesn't go forever.
No.
Yeah.
You know, and don't get me wrong, I'm on that flight and I'm like, am I doing?
Yeah,
Why did I do this?
And
Whatever.
hubby's asleep.
And then,
enjoying
and then exactly, George is like sleeping. Like, no, we both get stressed out, but we just kind of think, and then we land, and then we have the time of our lives.
Yeah.
We're just
Yeah.
It's all worth
if
it.
we're away, like I think Archie ate pizza every night for like literally 8 weeks.
Yeah.
You know, and Lenny
it's a good
literally
source
chicken
of
nuggets and
protein.
chips. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
you know what? Whatever, it's not forever.
Yeah.
And I kind of think to myself, like, I give them a good diet as much as I can.
Yeah.
But they're going to get to an age where they're going to either, like, you know, want to take care of their bodies. Like, Archie plays soccer now, and, you know, if he pursues that, like, I'll then encourage, not that I don't want to encourage it now, I try to just encourage it as best I can, but he's 6.
Yeah.
So, you know, like, if he wants to have a lolly or a couple of chocolate eggs at Easter or whatever, look, I'm not going to be like, no sugar, no this, no that. I just
and
let them...
they do get to it on their own. My son already, he's like, my friends are really fast. I need to get faster, so I need to get fit. I'm not having as much sugar anymore, Mum. And he even said to me the other day, I want to be vegan. And then he had a burger for dinner, and I'm like, sweetheart, that's not how it works.
I think too at school, the teachers, because one of the teachers made a comment on Archie's lunchbox.
Oh yeah, they shame. They
Yeah.
lunchbox shame.
So,
Do they?
so I
Yeah.
put like his sandwich, I cut up an apple, he had a thing of blueberries, he had a yogurt, and then I put like a muesli bar, and then as a treat, like I put some banana bread in there. Like, I don't think
my
that's
God,
that
that's
unhealthy.
healthy.
Sounds
Anyway,
like a great lunch to me.
the
Yeah.
teacher goes to him, you know, banana bread's not, it's a cake. Like, it's not actually, but so anyway, he come home and he goes, Mum, I can't have banana bread in my lunch anymore because it's a cake,
wow.
it's a treat, that's something to eat at home.
would've
And I
put a
said,
donut the next
wow,
day.
if your teacher wants to come every morning and make your lunch, she's more than welcome to, because I hate doing it. And if I want to give you banana bread, you can choose to eat it, or you can leave it in the lunch, or you can share it with her. I don't care. But what goes in your lunchbox is what goes in there. I go, unless she wants to come and do it for you, like, whatever.
Yeah.
Mine are the nude foods. Nude foods. Okay, so you come and watch the 15 Tupperwares that I have to put in your lunchbox every day. Like, I'm going to take the muesli bar out to put it in a container so that they don't have rubbish at school. Like, I'm going to take everything out, take the chips out and put them in a container. So
I'm
that,
going to fail.
Yeah.
Here goes to primary school. I'm going to fail.
Archie has weekly lunch orders now because I need 1 day
It's a
break.
break.
Outsource.
I need 1 day break.
Outsource.
You know what's
Outsource.
a good tip as well? Order pizza on a Thursday night, because then you can put them leftover pizza in the lunchbox on Friday.
Yeah.
And that's no lunchbox on Friday too.
That's
I
great.
haven't forbidden all 3, and I've got to pack all 3 lunches.
Bec, obviously you've spoken quite a bit about losing your mum, and I'm sure Mother's Day is, you know, quite tough after having lost her. There's going to be some listeners who perhaps this might be their first Mother's Day without their mum. Do you have any advice or just something to say to them that might help them get through the day?
Look, I obviously had Mother's Days without my children in that time between when she passed away before I became mum, and they were really hard. And yeah, I don't really have any advice to make it better.
Yeah.
But Mother's Day is better now because obviously my kids are celebrating me as a mum, which is really, really special. But, you know, like I still don't think nearly 10 years on, I've dealt with that grief properly. And it's taken me a lot to realise that I don't think you ever process grief completely. And I think that a beautiful way to look at it is means that if you still 10 years later can't deal with the fact that you've lost someone, it meant that that was someone that was full of love in your life, and that's really special. So you don't need to deal with it. So, you know, when Mother's Day comes along, I think to myself, instead of being sad about her not being here, I just think to myself how lucky I was to have her for when I did. And that's sort of what gets me through, because I think that's something I really struggled with, was like, the grief.
Yeah.
I don't think you ever actually process it properly. And people have this perception like, oh, you know, the more time goes, it gets easier. It doesn't at all.
Grief is not linear. That's
No.
something that I think there's a real misconception of.
Yeah. And there's things that pop up all the time. Like I was literally the other day, like we're getting a new office space at the moment and I'm planning all of that. And my mum used to be a bookkeeper. And I called one of my friends and he's got a business and his mum does it's actually James, all the bookkeeping. And like his mum's like good with all that stuff. Yeah. And, you know, we were talking about it and whatever. He's like, just take my mum, just take her, you know, like get all the advice you can. And I actually got a bit emotional on the phone to him because I was like, you're really lucky, like, because I spoke to her and she's even sounded like my mum. And I said to him, you're so lucky, like, you know, that you have that like support or whatever. And he's like, I go, look, I know that if my mum was here, like she'd be doing that for me too. So there's things like that sometimes are a little bit triggering. And I don't think he could quite understand why I was so emotional because it's like for him, he's like, it's just my mum. Like sometimes he doesn't even answer her calls. And I'm like, you should answer her calls. Like, you know, like it's, you know, it's just sort of, I don't know, like it's a funny thing.
You never get over it. My mum was so close to her mum. Like the way my mum talks about her mum is like really similar to how you talk about your mum. And she lost her to cancer when she was like 17, 18. And till this day, she's 60. Oh, sorry, mum. I shouldn't say that. But if she has a drink, like she will talk about her mum and cry. Like the relationship they had, it was just like, she just talks about it all the time. And I think that's how you get through Mother's Day or grief or like you just keep the memories alive.
It's different. Like maybe it's a female thing, but my husband lost his mum when he was 17. So we don't have any help. Look, it's just us. Yeah, that's hard. It's really hard. And he won't talk about her. Like he won't talk about her. He really rarely brings her up. And it's just something like you know, I don't know, maybe that's his way of dealing with it. Yeah, like and there's been a few like hard moments in our relationship, especially the last couple of years, where, you know, I've really struggled with the 3 kids and the business and like not having any help. And, you know, he's sort of blown up and gone, well, I don't have my mum here either. Like I feel it too, you know, or like my mum was in his life for, you know, 11 years before she passed away, and he's made comments like, she was like a mum to me too, like, you know, so it's kind of, it's a touchy subject sometimes, but look, I'll talk really openly about her, but I feel like I don't know much about his mum at all, and it's just he can't talk about it. That's his way of dealing with the grief.
I think it was possibly
it's a I think so too.
See, I feel like hearing all these stories, and I've got like 4 really close friends, and all 3 of them, their fathers have passed away from cancer already, you know, so 3 out of 4 girls in the group, you know, so I've come to I think in the last couple of years, and especially with ISO, I'm trying to appreciate the moments with my parents now that they're still here. So I am doing trips away with them. I am filming every moment that I can get, you know, so that my kids can see it.
Let's talk about what mums really want for Mother's Day, because I don't know about you, but I don't want flowers, I don't want chocolates, I want a night in Crown or something.
Oh my God,
like, I want
100%. I said to Antonis, have you booked a night at Crown? Because it's booked out. And he's like, you're going into labour. I was like, I'll have the baby there.
I'll deliver in Crown if I have to.
Make
so
sure
what do we all want for
night
Mother's
off.
Day?
Night off. Weekend off. Weekend off.
A week.
I don't know. Look, I'm probably really difficult right now because everything I want, I go and get it for myself. You know, if I want time, I book a holiday or I book a little getaway with my girlfriends or by myself. If I want something designer, I go and I save for it and I buy it. I think as women, we just, whatever we need, we sort it for ourselves because unfortunately, I don't want to stereotype, but most men just aren't, you know, you need to tell them. You need to go, this is what I want for Mother's Day, you know. Not many are really great at picking things for you.
Yeah, I don't know, Mother's Day is like, you know, your child recognising or whatever, but I would love, maybe for the man in the house to recognise the you know, how much you take the lead and how much you, you know, are always pre-thinking about every scenario. And
like, where do you want to go for dinner? I don't know, babe, where do you want to go for dinner? Just decide, please.
But also, like,
just
packing
decide.
toys for the kids when you're going out.
Like, thank God mine don't need that anymore. But
But
I just think that's
everything.
always mum thinking of
Yeah.
that, mum
Yeah.
packing snacks. Like, it's
Yeah.
just that mental burden that we have that I think men don't fully appreciate.
I think I'm finally at the stage where I really appreciate the heartfelt notes and drawings
Yeah,
and,
it's beautiful.
you know, those meaningful gifts more
Yeah.
than, you know, say years ago when it was, you know, when I didn't have as much, it would be like, oh, I wish you'd buy me something, you know, like, oh, something more than just the candle from the Mother's Day store. But
Yeah.
now that Mother's Day store thing is just so meaningful. It's funny how you transition.
Yeah.
So let's finish off. We're all about making life simpler and better for women. How do you do that for yourself? Start with Martha.
My life's not simple. I don't have really good advice. No, but I just going back to the start. Like, I think just, you know, asking for help when you need it. You know, trying to be as present as you possibly can, enjoying every moment you can with your child. Like Bec said as well, having fun. You know, breaking the rules every now and again is so much fun. You know, the other night, Pia and I broke a bunny and Dad went to the footy and me and her stayed in bed and watched movies till 10 and she's 3 and she ate chocolate and
And
you
who
know,
cares?
and then the
That's
next
such a
day she
beautiful
said,
memory.
and the next day she said, "Mummy, do it again, do it again." I was like, "Oh no," you know. But like, it's just like learning to just live in the moment and not taking life too seriously. That's the simple way. And outsource. Outsource. If you take anything away from today, it's outsource.
Zoe, what about you?
I think for me, making sure my cup is full so that I can pour for everyone else. Yeah. I think it's all, if I'm okay, the whole family is okay. If I'm upset, the whole family is upset. So I think I've realised that that's the root of it. So making sure that I'm relaxed, my mental health is good, my physical health is good, and then everything stems from that.
That's so true. And Bec, what about you?
Just a balance. I think it's just like I need, well, similar to what you've said, like I need to have time as a mum. I need to have time in my business to feel like I'm kicking my goals there. And I also need time with my husband, but I also need a good time with my girlfriends because that's like a great release for me.
Yeah.
So it's just balancing all of that. Like if I've got that balanced, I feel good because you know, I don't want to be in my husband's pocket all the time. I don't want my kids to be in my pocket all the time. And I don't want to be working all the time either. So it's just finding a great balance of all of that. And then, you know, like what you said, if I feel good, everyone feels good,
Yeah.
you
You
know.
wear all those hats separately.
Yeah.
Because sometimes if you feel like, I remember when I had both my kids, I felt like just a mum.
Yeah.
And I was like, where's my identity gone? Like, I don't play any sport anymore. I don't have, you know, many hobbies anymore. But that's fine. I did that for a couple of years. I sacrificed everything for the kids. And then I came out of it, you know, and now I put some more hats on.
Yeah, and I think that is really important for women to know as well, that loss of identity is really normal and it's okay to lose yourself in those first few months or years, and that's totally fine, and there's no pressure to piece yourself back together when you've gone through such a massive...
I've not met anyone that's become a mum that is the same person
Yeah,
they were
mentally.
Yeah, no one. I literally, every time my husband and I fight and he says something like, we've been together 20 years. He's like, you're changed. I'm like, if I was the same person that you met at 17 and then was still together with at 27 and now 36...
Yeah.
There's a problem there.
Yeah.
If all of those life experiences that I've been through have not changed me, that's a problem.
Yeah.
You know, it's about growing together. And if you're not on the same path, then like, you know, what are you going to do? You have to be in each other's corner and celebrate that growth because, you know, we all, and you don't think the same either. Like, I reckon if I was a mum in my early 20s, as opposed to me becoming a mum when I was 30, I probably would have been a different mum again.
Yeah.
So different.
Well, ladies, thank you so much for joining us for this special episode. Thank you, Martha and Boda, for hosting us, and happy Mother's Day.
You too.
Thank you so much for listening to this very special Mother's Day edition of It's All Her. If you have loved this episode, please rate, review and subscribe wherever you listen, and I will be back in your ears very soon.